Let's dive right into this explainer. Welcome. Today, we are breaking down a truly classic piece of literature line by line. We're looking at Leigh Hunt's brilliant narrative poem, The Glove and the Lions. Now, don't be fooled, this isn't just some dusty old poem about a royal court. It's actually a super dramatic, high-stakes tale of chivalry, romance, and honestly, the kind of dark reality of human nature. Right off the bat, I want you to really think about this. Would you literally risk your life to prove your love to someone? Or, better yet, what is the ultimate price of public validation in our relationships? Because at its core, that's exactly what this poem is testing. It sets up incredibly high stakes to ask us if true devotion really requires a dangerous public spectacle. Section 1. Setting the royal scene with King Francis and his court. Just listen to the grand, steady rhythm Leigh Hunt uses to open the poem. He writes, "King Francis was a hardy king and loved a royal sport, and one day, as his lions fought, sat looking on the court. The nobles filled the benches and the ladies in their pride, and amongst them sat the Count de Lorge, with one for whom he sighed. And truly 'twas a gallant thing to see that crowning show, valor and love, and a king above, and the royal beasts below." It just perfectly paints the picture of this majestic event. Okay, so let's translate that into plain English. King Francis is this warm, friendly monarch, but his idea of a fun afternoon is watching a wildly lethal lion fight. We've got the aristocracy, the nobles, and the proud ladies filling up the audience benches. And crucially, we meet Count de Lorge. He's sitting there completely head over heels in love with the lady beside him, the one for whom he sighed. This whole stanza sets up a really strict societal hierarchy, you know? You've got God and the king safely above, the nobles comfortably seated in the middle, and the deadly beasts trapped way down below. Section 2, Into the Ferocious Pit, a deadly show. Now, the pace of the poem suddenly accelerates. Ramped and roared the lions with horrid laughing jaws. They bit, they glared, gave blows like beams. A wind went with their paws. You can practically hear the terrifying power of these animals. What's really fascinating here is the phrase, horrid, laughing jaws. Leigh Hunt is using personification, and it works incredibly well. By giving the lions laughing jaws, he makes the visceral imagery so much more horrific. I mean, it's not a happy laugh, right? It's this wide, demonic, gaping mouth, flashing sharp teeth, making the lions seem almost consciously cruel. And this next part brilliantly illustrates their sheer strength, blows like beams. This is a super powerful simile. It tells us that when these lions struck each other, it wasn't just a quick swipe of a paw. No, it carried the immense force and crushing weight of heavy wooden logs. We're talking about the kind of massive beams holding up the roof of a castle. The action just keeps going. With wallowing might and stifled roar, they rolled on one another, till all the pit with sand and mane was in a thunderous smother. Let's look at two really specific words here, wallowing and smother. Wallowing means to roll around heavily, while a smother completely covers or suffocates. So imagine these massive beasts rolling around with such heavy, terrifying might that the entire pit is literally choked in flying sand and this deafening, thunderous noise. To complete this insanely chaotic picture, we get this deeply unsettling image. The bloody foam above the bars came whisking through the air. Just think about how fast and violent that action has to be for blood and saliva to whip through the air and actually fly over the safety bars. And right after that horrific description, we get this line from the king. Said Francis then, "Faith, gentlemen, we are better here than there." It is so incredibly ironic. It points out the stark disconnect between his completely safe, privileged position up in the stands and the absolute deadly reality of the pit below. He's basically just saying, well, glad it's them and not us. Section 3, The Vain Challenge, a sly manipulation. So the poem continues. De Lorge's love overheard the king, a beauteous, lively dame with smiling lips and sharp, bright eyes, which always seemed the same. Notice that phrase, always seemed the same. This hints that her beauty is refined, sure, but it's very calculated. Her expressions are totally practiced. It strongly suggests a highly manipulative nature hiding right behind those bright eyes. So let's break down exactly what's going through her head. The text says, she thought, "The Count my lover is brave as brave can be. He surely would do wondrous things to show his love of me. King, ladies, lovers, all look on. The occasion is divine." She knows her lover is exceptionally brave. She knows he'd do wondrous things for her. But societal expectations have pushed her to seek tangible, visible proof of his devotion. And she decides that this public gathering with the king and literally all the nobles watching is the perfect divine occasion to test him. But here is her true motivation, completely exposed in a single line. "I'll drop my glove to prove his love, great glory will be mine." She isn't just trying to see if he loves her. Not at all. She wants the great glory. She wants the entire royal court to look at her and say, "Wow, look how much power she has over him." It is entirely about feeding her own self-obsession. Section 4, the leap and return. Swift action. She dropped her glove to prove his love, then looked at him and smiled. He bowed and in a moment leaped among the lions wild. Can you imagine the sheer drama of this moment? She deliberately drops her glove down into the deadly arena and gives him this calculated smirk. And the count? He doesn't argue. He respectfully bows, accepting her challenge, and leaps down into the pit with those ferocious lions without a single second of hesitation. And the action here is dizzyingly fast. The leap was quick, return was quick, he has regained his place, then threw the glove, but not with love, right in the lady's face. It is a shocking turn of events. He retrieves the glove, surviving that terrifying pit, but his feelings, they are completely changed. He flings that glove right back in her face out of pure anger and realization. Section 5, Love versus Vanity, a resolute conclusion. The king actually stands up and delivers the final judgment on the whole affair. "By God," said Francis, "rightly done." And he rose from where he sat. "No love," quoth he, "but vanity sets love a task like that." The king completely agrees with the count's violent rejection of the glove. He recognizes that it was the absolutely correct response to such a toxic, manipulative game. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here hinges on understanding this one word, vanity. Vanity is an excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance, achievements, or self-importance. The core message of the poem solidifies right here. The lady's inflated ego, her pure vanity, completely destroyed what was otherwise a genuine affection from the count. The contrast between the two is just stark. The lady's motivation was completely toxic. She wanted public validation, societal glory, and to feed her own self-obsession. On the flip side, the king's ultimate conclusion, and really the poem's lesson, is that true devotion is selfless. Genuine love never ever demands a dangerous public stunt just to prove itself. Before we wrap up, we really have to give Leigh Hunt some credit for his literary genius here. He makes the story so impactful through some very specific poetic devices. Like, he uses similes such as "gave blows like beams" to emphasize the raw power of the lions. He uses personification with those horrid laughing jaws to give the beasts that consciously cruel quality we talked about. And his imagery, like the bloody foam whisking through the air, creates an incredibly visceral, unsettling picture that makes the count's leap all the more terrifying. And that leaves us with a pretty deep final thought to ponder. Leigh Hunt wrote this back in the 19th century, setting it all the way back in the medieval era. But we really have to ask ourselves, in a modern world that is absolutely obsessed with public validation, are we still mistaking vanity for love? It's definitely something to think about the next time someone demands you prove your devotion for an audience. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.